Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Dropkick Podcast. Today I have an amazing episode for you guys. I'm joined with a guest co-host, none other than Michael Wexler from Your Story, available on all podcast streaming platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. Link will be in the description. But at this time, please help me welcome my guest. She is the host of Wrestle Tea, former professional wrestler, none other than Sam Leterna. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to this interview. I have interviewed with Mike before, so I'm excited for these questions.
Yeah, for sure. I figured it was a good idea to have him on because he already interviewed you, so that's already out there. But
yeah, we have our rapport.
Yeah. But how has 2021 been treating you thus far compared to 2020? What are some lessons you carried from last year into this year?
Just staying positive. Also, in terms of wrestling, I feel like I've really amped up what I'm doing in terms of live shows versus Wrestle Tea because things are opening up. So it's been a blessing in that sense. So very much so just trying to keep the same mindset that I've had in 2020 into 21, and also just being more mindful of certain things that I still have to work on too within my craft with broadcasting, and also of course just personal growth and stuff like that, because I'm really big into that over the past year with the pandemic.
No, 100%. I think the pandemic has really changed us for the better. Also, it could help us also grow as a person, like you said. So I think it's just a great opportunity for everybody to just take an opportunity and just make themselves feel better. But I wanted to ask, what captivated you about professional wrestling? Because I know all of us here, something different always captivated us. But what captivated you as a fan?
I guess my most profound wrestling experience was actually going to a live show for the first time, because this was when I was 13 or 14, whatever the Royal Rumble 2008 was. So that year I'd seen my first wrestling show, but I'd been watching for at least 6 or 7 years, and was such a fanatic as a kid too. It's kind of embarrassing to think about. But yeah, so the live show, just hearing the pyro go off for the first time and then actually hearing the live crowd, it was just really inspiring. And I remember thinking this is something I want to be a part of. It would be so cool. And at first that was with wrestling, obviously. And now it's transitioned into what I truly think my calling is, which is broadcasting within the realm of pro wrestling.
No, absolutely. I think 2008 was the year when Cena came back and won the Rumble. And,
yes, that was a great live pay-per-view.
No, it was such a great pay-per-view.
So one of the questions that I don't believe was in our last interview, but again, I have horrible memory, so please excuse me.
Me too. Don't worry about it.
So we talk about your beginnings in pro wrestling. Of course, for those who don't know, she is a professional wrestler as well. With some matches
guys, one thing, I don't want to be associated with being a wrestler, because I'm not anymore. That's not my calling necessarily. I don't wrestle anymore. I haven't for 2 years. I was a wrestler for many years, and I'm happy to talk about that. But yeah, I just don't want people to think I wrestle, because I'm definitely
of course. So one of the things I do want to mention was, was there anybody in particular that kind of inspired you to be inside the ring?
A couple of people, for sure, but within the realm of wrestling, I always watched WWE until actually training to wrestle, which is when I got familiar with indies. So Randy Orton has been my biggest influence, 100%. I'll get the awkward part out of the way. Of course, he's a very attractive man, and that figures into it. But truly, he's so iconic in the sense that I think what he does in the ring is so natural for him. And I'm fascinated by wrestling dynasties and legacies and stuff like that. And I really wonder, is it in their blood? Some people are just so naturally gifted at it. And Randy Orton has always been that person who really made me think wow, this is true sport, not what people might say about it in the media, negative things.
No, 100%. I think he really paved the way for a long time in terms of longevity, and we continue doing it. So, but with also Randy being one of your inspiration, who else did you have other favorites growing up? And
I really liked Billy Kidman when he had the jean shorts and the long hair, super young Edge. Test was a favorite of mine because he was such a big guy, and he really, like, I was scared of him as a kid. Also Triple H and Evolution, that was a really big part of my childhood. I loved that. And I would say really like Shawn Michaels for storytelling as well. And then within the realm of the women, Lita, of course. Victoria is like my favorite female wrestler, and I've had the chance to like sit down and hang with her once, so that was like pretty cool to get to like meet someone I grew up like idolizing, essentially.
No, absolutely. But you know, you were also a professional wrestler at one point, but who did you get trained by? I was actually curious.
Oh yeah, sure. So in like 2015, I started training in Brooklyn with Johnny Rodz, who's like a WWE Hall of Famer and has trained the Dudleys, a lot of other people. I started training there actually with Masha Slamovich. We started around the same time. So I trained there for about a year and a half, and then I stopped wrestling for a couple of months and decided to save up my money, go to Canada, train with Lance Storm for a few months in 2017.
Oh, wow.
And that was an awesome experience. Lance is just a really good guy, but also a fantastic trainer. And even though I don't wrestle anymore, what he taught me from like a business perspective, as well as just a psychological perspective with like the way wrestling works, has really helped me. And I think given me an edge as a broadcaster. So very grateful for Lance and the friends I made while I was there, of course. And there's a great network of people with Storms. So yeah.
No, 100%.
Absolutely. So then I did want to go into after that, you know, you did talk about the experiences that and the learning lessons that you got from Lance Storm in the academy. So can you talk about a little bit of that transition from, you know, that in-ring competition to the broadcasting world? Because I felt like a lot of the times when you make that transition, it's like, oh, this is something new, you know, and then some people find it easy. Some people find it hard. Like, what was your experience like?
Well, I'd say that I had stopped wrestling for maybe like 8 months because of like a lingering like pain in my back because of something that happened in the ring. So I didn't make the decision to like stop wrestling because I was going into broadcasting. I made the decision to stop wrestling, and just didn't wrestle anymore. But then I felt kind of like an emptiness. I was wondering why I was feeling this way. And I realized that I had left something behind that I really loved and still felt that I could contribute to, which obviously is pro wrestling. So I made a decision after having a very like serious heart to heart with Masha, actually, where, you know, she really like told me, put up or shut up. I know what you offer. Like, you have to value yourself and just create something. And like the next day, Wrestle Tea was founded. So yeah, I don't know.
No, 100%. I think that's such a hard like thing to come to terms with, because sometimes you can't control it, but sometimes like things are just set out in stone, and you just have to kind of just follow that path and, you know, stay true to yourself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't fight like nature or the universe, but I think if you allow it to really like just put everything into place for you, then it is what your calling is. I don't know. That's what I've found.
No, I guess on that note, like looking back on it, do you think everything that happened leading up to that moment and now, like, are you happy with who you have become from that experience, I guess?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that I've had to just like have my eyes open and listen a lot and really keep a pulse on the indies, which I've thankfully been decent at doing and timing certain things coming out. And anyway, but you know, you have to be shrewd. It's a business. And I just think that I had to approach wrestling a little bit differently. Like, there was that transitional period where I still knew like all of the women, for example, that I wrestled. But it was still that like weird transition in my mind between like wrestler and broadcaster. And now I think I know where those limits exist and where they don't. And I just really feel like I'm coming into my own more so now than when I first started. So, yeah.
No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. One actually I did want to mention too is that for those who don't know, Sam Leterna is the host of Wrestle Tea on YouTube, which you could definitely find on YouTube. Wrestle Tea by Sam Leterna, if you look that up. And speaking about that, of course, that kind of went off during 2020 when the COVID pandemic had happened, or it first started with interviews going, and then obviously went to remote. Where was kind of the inspiration for Wrestle Tea? Because I know that first interview kind of popped up and paved the way to interviews that would come in the future.
Yes, Darius. Love him. Uh, he's great. I had aside from Masha kind of just like picking me up from my like wrestling slump, I had a really big kind of like obsession at the time with Jeffree Star, the YouTuber. And I don't like get involved in that stuff, but she got me. I don't know. And Jeffree says tea for, his stuff. And I was like, you know what? Wrestle Tea. This doesn't exist. This sounds like something that is so me. Like, I love using the word tea. And I know that I have the ability with my like experience already knowing a bunch of wrestlers. Like, I already have a network. So the tea will come. I had to trust that the tea would come. But yeah, I think I just went off on a tangent, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. You can continue.
Hey, the tea is on the Dropkick podcast.
Oh.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I usually have a teacup, but I have my Nalgene bottle.
Oh, wow. But I think, no, that's such a great name, because I think when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, like, this is different compared to like all the other shows, right? But it's such a great way to stand out and do something different.
Yeah, I just want to like bring a female perspective to it as well, but without it being like overtly that.
No,
it's just a wrestling show, but by a chick who knows wrestling, basically. I wanted to set myself apart of it.
No, absolutely. With all the interviews you've done, which one has been your favorite one currently, I guess?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think in terms of like the work and like the fulfillment I got from it just being a great interview, in my opinion, like of my work, my interview with Danial Garcia is my favorite, based on like it being a formal interview that like really got to the crux of certain things that he hadn't spoken about before. And essentially like, I just like was really attentive for him, and he returned that by like giving great answers. So like, that's all someone can ask for, as I'm sure you guys know, for interviews. That was a really awesome interview. But I have others that I like because, they're silly, or, they're always very, very into doing the interview, even if like I ask them ridiculous questions, like Chris Dickinson. I always will ask him to be on Wrestle Tea, and then some of it doesn't make it, some of it does, because I just ask really random questions, and Chris gets funny about it. But yeah.
No, I think, all of your interviews have been great, but like, if you could like interview anybody, like who would it be? Because I know all of us like would love, to interview somebody who they possibly can't.
That's a good question.
Right now, I would really like to interview like a Cody Rhodes, like on his perspective, and like if it's changed, for example, between like obviously being a wrestler, but now also being like, the brass and all of that, just being a part of the business end of it as well. I think that would be an awesome interview. Also in terms of like women and like just being able to do more live interviews now, thankfully, I would love to get to interview some of the women that I grew up watching, and like seeing different perspectives on different topics, and just, giving more than just what I have been on Wrestle Tea. There are some things in the works. So I want to offer a couple of different perspectives moving forward. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But I think each interview brings such a different dynamic vibe to it, because each interview is different, right? At the end of the day, and it's always good to change it up and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I did want to actually mention on that point, of course, when I go back to the pandemic, a lot of people had to transfer interviews to doing virtual, like whether that's through Zoom or the platform that we're using. And then, little by little, we're starting to see physical in-person interviews come back. For you personally, do you feel like that it's better in person still, or do you feel like that the kind of the remote interview has a more better feel for an interview?
I think it depends on the person, to be honest, because some people do feel more comfortable doing virtual. But then there are people that I think like I try to interview in person with people that I don't think would be like the easiest interview. Like, it would be a challenge, because you don't want to deal with that on Skype. A good challenge, I like a good challenge. There's no bad interview. You just have to, be able to veer conversation in certain directions, I guess. But yeah.
No, absolutely. I think everything is a challenge, but it's just how you look at it. Like, perspective is really everything. But
Exactly.
if someone's looking into being a broadcaster, like what's one piece of advice that you'd give them? Because I know you're
I'm
pretty
like not
successful.
like a professionally trained broadcaster. Like Mike, I know goes to school for sports broadcasting, right? Like
I'm not here. I'm not here.
you have all of the secrets. But I would say just like find literature on it, because I think that's a means of education, even if you don't go to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually recommended a book to Mike, and he bought it as well. So,
Oh, wow.
I don't remember the name of the book. It was like a year ago, but yeah. But what do you call it? That, and then I think just like networking is the biggest part of broadcasting and pro wrestling, and broadcasting in general, I've heard. But you have to get people to trust you based on your work, because there's people that just are private, or they want to keep their character preserved, so you have to get that trust from your peers. That's a really big thing through the networking and pro wrestling. And I'd also say do everything. Don't just do interviews. Try and veer into commentary if this is something you've been watching since you were a kid, because on a subconscious level, you know where it's at. Like, you've been watching forever. You can learn how to commentate. I'm learning to commentate every day. It's a challenging thing. There's kind of like, I think there's different echelons within broadcasting and wrestling. And for me, my goal is to be like a great interviewer, but also get respect as a commentator. And that's going to take time, but you have to make those goals, I guess. And also ring announcing, like supplemental things. If like you feel like you have a voice for it and you feel comfortable being in a ring, like that's exposure. You're in the ring for a second, it's a
Absolutely.
business.
And to that point, I mean, I always felt that it was great if you ever want to hire someone that's always could do it all. You know what I mean? Like someone that could do ring announcing, that could also do commentary, that could also do interviewing. I mean, and not only that, but it also gets you out of your element too. You kind of have that perspective of like, oh, maybe I should try interviewing. Oh, that's cool. Maybe I should try ring announcing. So then that way, not only that you have better opportunities, but the variety that you have is out the roof.
Absolutely. And there's so many experienced broadcasters on the indies as well. So why not exhaust those resources, right? There's like so few of us in general that like those who have that experience, especially since the indies, how the indies have changed in the past 5 years, even 10 years. It's good to pick their brains, I think. People like Paul Crockett, Sydney Bacabella for color, like Chadwick, Alyssa Marino, who I think is the best female broadcaster on the indies right now. Like, she's great. I love Alyssa. So yeah, just learn from people. And as Johnny Rods would say, keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, and your ears open. So yeah.
No, 100%. I think you have to soak all the knowledge you can get, being in this industry, because it's a tough industry to, just get your foot in the door, but you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day.
Exactly. Just stay persistent.
For sure. But I did want to ask, do you play guitar? Because I see guitars in the back.
Yeah.
I was curious.
People have been asking about the guitars, and I want to say that I play them, but I can't, and I don't. These are my my roommate's guitars. I just moved into a new spot, and he's got like a ukulele, a bass, a like country-ish guitar. I don't know what that is. Traditional, and an acoustic. My friend is here, and she corrected me. And a lovely electric guitar. She's coaching me from the sidelines. But yeah, I do like rock music, though. I appreciate some good power chord, like AC/DC, like Black Sabbath, Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
No, they're great.
Absolutely. One thing that I did want to ask too, Sam, was that I've seen a recent Instagram post of, achieving goals, whether that's through goals in the gym or whether that's through goals of your career. Out of all the goals that you've had thus far, when you're looking back at that, like, do you reflect on that saying like, man, like I've achieved a lot, or do you still kind of have that motivation of like, oh, I can still achieve more. Like there's still more to do.
Oh, I can absolutely and will achieve more. But over the past year, basically every goal I've set, I have, I've achieved and exceeded. So I think just staying persistent, having your routine and your things that you do every day is like really important. And just persistently putting work into the broadcasting, even though many of us have other jobs outside of this, right? So that, and then I would say, sorry, I kind of got a little bit of mush brain there.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But can you repeat the question really quickly, and then I'll.
Yeah, no worries. I could do that. So basically, just kind of to shorten the question up, out of all the goals that you've had, and then when looking back at it, like, are you proud of those? Like, what does that give you motivation?
Okay. So in terms of, I guess, having accomplished a lot, I'm definitely proud of what I've accomplished in a year, and I try to still, like, I don't know, just not think about that stuff, because I don't want to like get a big head or anything like that. I want to just stay in the present and do work today that contributes to tomorrow, if that makes sense. But yes, I love what I've accomplished. Yes, but I want to do more, and I have so many ideas. So I'm just excited that now I think that I have more of a platform to spread those ideas. So that's what I'm looking to do, and I want to work everywhere. Yeah, but one thing I will say is that humans naturally are goal-oriented people. So if we reach our goals, there's always going to be a next goal. Like, we are never satisfied, ever. Like, I could like get hired by ESPN, no interest in that, but I could get hired by ESPN, and like, it's what I've wanted my whole life. But then the moment that happens, then do you want to be the best at ESPN? You know,
No,
do you want your own talk show after that? There's always something that a human being wants. So I don't know. I'm going to keep setting goals, long story short.
No, absolutely. I think you got to be happy with your inner self to just keep achieving more, because, a lot of people in the business, they'll win titles, they'll get opportunities, but they're never truly happy, I guess. And that kind of brings them into like a dead end. And it's like, what's next, right? And it's always a fight to do more at the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah, you have to do the mental work. And I know, like, especially in American society, like, we're all very stressed out. So just being mindful of that, and, staying positive as best as possible, whatever you need to do that, I think is really important nowadays.
No, absolutely. But with achieving goals and everything, but do you hope to one day get possibly signed with a WWE or an AEW or, an Impact?
I leave the doors open to any major promotion that would like to sign me. That would be awesome. It would be an honor to get TV experience at any company, because there's such amazing crops of talent that I have not interviewed yet, that I could interview with a platform and with money to do things, budget-wise, fun stuff that I have in my brain. So yeah, I think it would be great to work at any of those places. I grew up watching WWE, so I mean, that would be a place I'd absolutely love to work. But like I said, there's talent everywhere, and this is a business. So if someone were to offer me a contract, I don't think I'd refuse it based on favoritism or anything like that. So yeah.
No, 100%.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think this might be kind of the most straightforward question I think that we have, and that is, what's the next chapter for Sam Leterna?
Well, I guess my next chapter is summer in the immediate, and I just want to work as many shows as possible, and it is shaping up to be a busy summer. So really just working in new states, at new promotions, and being given that opportunity to kind of expand my brand and Wrestle Tea in other places. I think the long-term goal through that is to be able to like monetize Wrestle Tea one day, be able to broadcast full time, whether it's on my own accord as like a content creator. I hate that term, but content creator, or getting paid to exist, but doing the work, or even like working for a major company. I just want to be able to do this full time. So that's the next chapter. That's what I'm putting into the universe. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. But wait, can you guys hear me?
No. Yeah, you like blanked out for like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, I don't know what happened. But
there might have been a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But I got one final question. With everything you've done thus far in your career with professional wrestling, and of course continuing to do more in the broadcasting world, what piece of advice would you give someone to breaking into the business who wants to just do more, I guess?
Within the realm of broadcasting?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's like.
I think in general, we're just breaking into the wrestling industry as well.
Yeah. I mean, just for generally speaking, like all wrestling is definitely keep your mouth shut and your eyes and ears open, because it's just such an old tradition that wrestling is. Like, its roots are just so archaic and like carny, you know, we all hear that, right? But like, it's all about respect and like having the right attitude and being coachable, right? Like WWE even says that at their tryouts. We want someone who's coachable. You might not be the best, but if you're the best wrestler and you have a crappy attitude, not very appealing on a personal level or a business level. Yeah. But within the realm of broadcasting specifically, go to your local school and start doing things there. You'll have a platform to at least do interviews, start doing commentary, like put in that work, put in those hours, I would say, and then start expanding, start talking to people, you know, make a reel when you feel comfortable, do voice exercises in front of your mirror so you know, don't have any impediments when you speak and that you can enunciate. Like, I don't know, it depends what your goals are. You know, if you want to work on TV, I'm realizing that there's a lot of work that goes into that. So, yeah.
No, for sure. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Where can everybody find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sam Leterna. I'll spell the last name Leterna. And if anyone has questions about broadcasting stuff, like, and you want to get into the business, you can like message me. If you're not creepy, I'll respond. Basically, I'm a nice person. But also on Facebook, Wrestle Tea by Sam Leterna, if you want to support the page and see new interviews. I'm also going to be reopening my Patreon over the next 2 days with awesome insider stuff, some bloopers. Who doesn't want to see Max Caster bloopers? Come on now. So Patreon at Sam Leterna. And of course, my baby Wrestle Tea. Subscribe, like, hit that notifications button so you see every single interview that comes out. Yes, Wrestle Tea on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys.
No worries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mike, for co-hosting. You can check out your story with Michael Wexler on all podcast stream platforms. But as of now, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next interview.